Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Guess what they're doing in the UK? They're admitting, finally, under the guise of we're doing research, they're going to have to do experiments to dim the sun. Given green light by the UK government because...
What could go wrong?
It's great news for the UK because you know how they're always getting too much sun.
Yeah.
In the UK. Yeah, it's sunny old England, as they say.
We need to bog up the complexion.
How are you going to know the experiment's working? I mean, if there's one major complaint about the United Kingdom, it's that they get way too much sunshine.
Yeah.
I mean, how was Jack the Ripper supposed to sneak around and kill anybody on a bright sunny day? Am I right?
That's true. Time for day killing.
What is the raincoat company supposed to do now? Switch to London SPF? Is that what they're going to do? Come on. So, you know this is gonna. They're doing this with aluminum. You know they're spraying aluminum. So there's that.
Why?
That's how they do this.
But I mean, why are they? Here's my question.
So Kurt, they control the. By the way, this weather control thing is not. Again, it's one of those things like you're saying, "Oh, Jimmy, come on, the vaccine's safe and effective." The weather control thing is real. Did you know that the Mahmoud Ahmadinejad went on the floor of the UN and said that they were creating famine in his country? They were controlling the weather, but it never got that never got reported in the United States, did it?
I did hear it, and I was like, "Oh, that's something stupid." But at the time, I was unaware that we have a treaty signed in the '70s to not use weather weapons. So if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have a treaty about it. There was no nuclear treaty before nukes,
right?
You know?
Scientists are planning on dimming the sun in a bid to curb global warming. Again, with this global warming, it all start. When do you start measuring global warming? They like to start in the late 1800s. We're actually in a cooling period right now. If you look, it just depends on when you start counting from. There used to be ice all the way covering all of North America. Used to be ice everywhere.
How about before you do this?
And that all went away before we started burning oil. That all went away before we started burning oil. That's how we got the Great Lakes. So this feels very much like a scam. Go ahead, Steph.
I'm just going to say, how about before we start dimming the sun, why don't we just cure worldwide hunger?
Yeah, how about that?
I think it would have caused more of it. Also, all the people that can't believe something could have happened with that Malaysian plane, they're planning on dimming the sun.
Yes.
What are you talking about? Look at the things you're looking at.
The UK government is set to announce funding of up to 50 million pounds of funding for sun dimming experiments in the coming weeks. Let me tell you something. They're already been. I'm going to cover this more on Friday. The controversial technology aims to reflect sunshine back into the atmosphere, which could help to temporarily limit rising temperatures. And it's going to screw up natural cloud formation. It's going to screw up the weather. It's screwing, but they're already doing that.
How's it going to affect plant life?
Yes. You know how plants like being sprayed with aluminum and salt? They say they're just doing it with salt. Believe me, they're spraying aluminum.
Well, I know the aluminum part of that, and they've been doing it for quite some time, by the way.
Yes.
So that they can do that global 3D mapping. That's what that layer of aluminum allows them to do, is map the entire area when they do it. And that's from a long time ago. I don't know now what they're doing. I know Dubai had those floods because they were doing this.
Your brain would have to be an innie for you to think this is a good idea.
Well, I don't think it's for the reason they're saying, just because I don't feel like that's... Oh, the UK has been really heating up. I don't think it really has, and it's always cloudy. So why on earth would you be doing that there? Why would you? It doesn't make sense.
It comes as the National Environment Research Council NERC, which is one letter away from nerd, announced on April 3rd that it will invest 10 million pounds of new funding to study these solar radiation management schemes. Wow. According to Professor Mark Symes, the program director for the government's Advanced Research and Invention Funding Agency, known as Aria, there would be a small controlled outdoor experiments on particular... They're already doing this.
Yeah.
They're already doing this. These experiments could include injecting aerosols into the atmosphere or brightening clouds to reflect the sunlight. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? And of course, this small experiment is just going to involve the entire population.
Yeah.
You know, these are the science people. These are the kind of science guys that sank Atlantis. Those kind of guys.
Do you remember they were Jimmy, they were advertising. There was some startup that was advertising doing something with mirrors just like that in space where you could order sunlight to the area you wanted. You know, like it's late at night. It was like an app they were promising with this satellite. So right away, and that was a while ago. No, I don't think they really had the tech to do that. I think that was a thing but this was from a year or two ago. So I doubt it's anything to do with climate change, but how much you want to bet you're going to be able to buy sunlight, or they're going to giveth and taketh away the light when you need to grow crops if you're not doing what they want. Whatever. Remember nitrogen? They had to get the nitrogen away? And it was just to take over all the
that's right.
food.
So they could take over the Dutch farms. There were too much nitrogen.
How about I turn the sun off for your stupid farm and then you sell it to me? How about that? And then
one day they can charge us for sunlight. Imagine if you I saw them bring this up on Redacted. Imagine if they you just listened to the government and you were a good little boy and you covered your property with solar panels, and now they're going to dim the sun because it needs direct sunlight. It's not just any sunlight. Your solar panel needs direct sunlight. If it's cloudy, you're effed. The professor says, we will be announcing who we have given funding to in a few weeks, and when we do so, we will be making clear when on any outdoor experiments might be taking place. It's already taking place.
I think they did in California last year.
One of the missing pieces in this debate was physical data from the real world. Models can only tell us so much. I mean, the models about climate change that have proven to be wrong consistently? You mean those models?
Yeah, I don't know how they think they can model that.
We have strong requirements around the length of time experiments can run for and their reversibility, and we won't be funding the release of any toxic substances to the environment. Last year was the hottest year on record. Since when? Becoming the first year for the average temperatures to exceed the threshold of 1.5 Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. Again, January 2025 was also the warmest on record, with an average global temperature hitting 13.23 Celsius, 1.75 Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Okay. How did they melt all that ice during the Ice Age? How hot was it for it to... How did that happen?
No. I don't have a model. I need a computer model.
The 1.5 Celsius threshold is a target established in the Paris Agreement in 2015, where a bunch of people flew private jets to the Paris so they could figure out how to fix climate change. Believe me, they're not going to outlaw private jets. You know who else is cheering this on? You know who's cheering this on? Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos from their 450-foot yachts with 6 diesel engines in them. They're not. They're also cheering this on. Yes, dim the sun. Oh
yeah. The owner of a bridal party space cock is telling you,
yes,
you should get less sun.
Barack Obama goes to Africa, tells people in Africa you can't have air conditioning in cars because the planet will overheat. And then he gets on a private plane, flies back to his beachfront property. And then he flies to his other beachfront property in Hawaii, where he's building an illegal seawall, which they got a cutout for. because
Nice.
seawalls erode the beach down the road. But they got it. So he's buying. Isn't it funny that people who believe in oceans rising and climate change keep flying around the world in private jets, buying beachfront property like John Kerry, like Barack Obama,
Yeah,
like
I think
Bill
they're
Gates,
reptiles, so that's
like
why,
Jeff
you know.
Bezos, like Mark Zuckerberg. Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
reptile people. They
Reptile
like being in the
people.
water. I mean, that kind of just proved it.
If in a world within the 1.5 Celsius threshold, believe me, they're never going to stop. They're never going to say, hey, maybe we should close the 900 military. The number one emitter of carbon as an organization in the world, guess what it is? It's the U.S. military. No one ever says, hey, maybe we should close those 900 military bases. Maybe we shouldn't blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. So the same people telling me about climate change being real are the same people urging more war, more military bases, more private jet travel, more private yacht travel, more beachfront properties, and more blowing up of the Nord Stream pipelines. I don't see a disconnect. Do you see a disconnect there at all? I see one.
I mean, not if you're run by like a secret ancient order of vampires that want to rule the night by day. Like, what is the motive here?
They're going to tackle climate change. Are you going to tackle it by closing 900 military bases and stop blowing up Nord Stream pipeline? No. Are you going to tackle it by one private jet flight emits more carbon than my car does in my lifetime?
Wait, what's
You're
that
gonna
summit there?
You're going to get rid of the 450-foot yachts, which is 150 foot bigger than a football field, that use 4 giant diesel engines. You're going to get rid of that? No. But I got to have an electric stove and drive a scooter and eat bugs
Mm-hmm.
and live in a 15-minute city.
Yeah. Wait, aren't they clearing out the rainforest to make a highway?
They
just to get
literally,
to this-
they literally just cut down a big swath of the Amazon rainforest so they could put in a road so they could have a conference about fighting climate change.
It's private too. No one can use it who lives there.
Yep. You don't feel like a sucker? You don't feel like a sucker that they're literally clearing the Amazon rainforest so they can put in a road so they can have a conference. They can't have a conference in a city that already exists. Greenhouse. So in a world within the 1.5 Celsius threshold, experts say that many of the deadliest effects of climate change, extreme heat, food scarcity, and insect-borne diseases are reduced. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide are thrown into the atmosphere by human activities and are key drivers of climate change. It also greens the planet. They don't tell you that. It also greens the planet. The planet is way greener than it was 10 years ago.
You said it's going to be a desert, not way greener than when I was a kid. The forest was almost all gone.
That's right.
That's what I was told.
And now the world, the entire world is way greener. Scientists are increasingly worried that carbon dioxide levels aren't falling fast enough to prevent catastrophic global warming, they said after they got out of their private jet, after they cleared more Amazon rainforest so they could have their climate change meeting. With the collapse of ocean currents and giant ice sheets becoming a looming threat, the uncomfortable truth is that that most of the Earth's lifetime there weren't polar. The uncomfortable truth is that our current warming trajectory makes a number of such tipping points distinctively possible over the next century. This has driven increased interest in approaches that might actively cool the world in a short time frame in order to avoid these tipping points.
The tipping points, none of them happen. Look, I really don't need to be told any more about the history of jack shit because I've been alive long enough to watch them prophesy the end of the world that didn't come more times than crazy religious people ever have. They predicted the end more than Bible-beating kooks. So shut up. I don't believe you.
John Kerry was saying there's going to have ice-free summers in the Arctic. Didn't happen. He said that like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. When he supposedly went to Antarctica to check the damage, he just didn't go to the climate thing. Instead of go to Antarctica to check the measurement of how damaging it is.
The experiments, therefore, aim to provide critical data needed to properly assess the potential of the sun-dimming technology. One major area of research, which includes stratospheric aerosol injection, where tiny particles are released into the stratosphere from airplanes and reflect light back into space. They've been doing this forever. Everybody who mocked someone about chemtrails should apologize. Another potential solution is marine cloud brightening, in which boats would release sea salt particles into the sky to increase clouds' ability to reflect sunlight. You know how plants love to be covered in salt. That's good for plants.
I've heard of salting the earth, but have you ever salted the sky?
Isn't it amazing? None of these ideas are we ban private jet travel, end war, stop blowing up Nord Stream pipelines, close down the 900 military bases. The number one emitter of carbon in the U.S. military. Nobody ever mentions doing that. Not Greta Thunberg. Doesn't seem like an
emergency, does it?
What's that?
Doesn't seem like an emergency, does it?
Does it?
If they're not talking about that.
No. In fact, they're all talking about even more oil. A third idea is Barack Obama bragged that they extracted more oil out of the United States when he was president than than ever before. The number one oil extraction president was President Obama. He bragged about it. A third idea is seeding Syria. Joe Biden opened up the Arctic to drilling. A third idea is seeding cirrus clouds in the upper atmosphere to allow more heat to escape into space. However, the topic of geoengineering, the deliberate large-scale manipulation of the Earth's climate system, remains controversial. You think? As some scientists argue that these techniques could have serious unintended consequences on things like food production. You think?
No. Is it okay? Could it be any worse than artificially cocking up viruses?
According to Professor Symes, no toxic substances would be released into the environment. Oh, really? They also told me that the vaccine was safe and effective.
They released that into you.
And they put that into you.
The environment.
They also told me that
body.
2 weeks to flatten the curve, that masks work. They also told me that lockdowns were great, that there was science behind social distancing. They told me all those things. Hey, have you ever tried getting ivermectin, methylene blue, or mebendazole from your regular doctor? Good luck. Most won't even talk about it. But the truth is, you shouldn't have to beg for these medicines that you want. And you shouldn't have to wait for permission to take care of your own health. I'm telling you, don't wait till you're sick. Be prepared, because when things go south, it's not the hospital that's going to save you. It's what you've already got at home. That's why I'm telling people about All Family Pharmacy. They're redefining what healthcare should be, helping you stay stocked with both essentials and everyday meds, no hassle. You order online. A licensed doctor reviews your order, writes the prescription, and boom, your meds ship straight to your door, no hassle. They've got ivermectin, methylene blue, mebendazole, plus over 200 medications, including antibiotics, emergency kits, and your daily prescriptions. It's not just a pharmacy. It's the backup plan every family needs. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/door right now. Stock up. Be ready. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/door and use the code DOOR10 and get 10% off your order today. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.